Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something quite fundamental.
Yeah, we're looking at sources that challenge a really dominant idea about health.
Sunlight. For decades, the message has been pretty clear. Sun equals bad. Avoid it.
Stay out of it, cover up, use high SPF. That's the standard line.
But the sources we're examining today, they argue this solar phobia, as they call it, has actually backfired.
Massively backfired.
Yeah.
Especially for older adults, people over 65. It seems it's created a hidden public health crisis.
So that's our mission in this deep dive. We're looking at the evidence suggesting moderate, regular sunlight isn't just nice to have.
It's essential medicine, powerful medicine. We need to sort of pull out the science that supports rethinking our relationship with the sun.
Especially countering these deep-seated fears that seem to be making people sick.
Exactly. And the best way to frame this, I think, is with a specific case study we found. It's pretty shocking, frankly.
Right, the story of Robert Martinez. He's 76. And by all accounts, this guy was doing everything right, following the doctor's orders to the letter.
Oh, absolutely. The model patient. Had a routine skin check. Dermatologist warned him about skin cancer risk. Understandably, of course.
Standard advice.
Standard advice, but taken to an extreme level. The recommendation was basically total avoidance.
So what did that look like for Robert?
Well, the sources describe it vividly. SPF 50 slathered on every single day.
Even if he was indoors?
Even indoors. Plus, always long sleeves, wide-brimmed hats, the works, and rigidly staying inside between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m.
The peak hours. He thought he was doing the absolute best thing for his health, protecting himself.
He did. But the result was, tragic. It was the complete opposite of protection.
Within 6 months, is that right?
Just 6 months of this super strict routine, and his health just completely fell apart.
Fell apart how?
He developed this severe vitamin D deficiency. And the sources make a point of calling it iatrogenic.
Okay, that word iatrogenic, we need to explain that for you listeners.
Yeah, it's crucial. It means the condition was caused unintentionally by the medical advice, by the treatment itself.
So the very thing meant to protect him
became the direct cause of his illness. His body was starved of something essential.
And the illness wasn't minor?
Not at all. The decline was fast and it hit everything. His bone density plummeted. We're talking advanced osteoporosis dangerously quickly.
Wow.
He fell into this deep clinical depression, just lost all his energy, his enjoyment of life, and maybe most critically, his immune system just cratered.
I bet they can.
Hospitalized 3 times in those 6 months. Recurrent infections his body just couldn't fight off.
So this previously healthy, active 76-year-old
was reduced, as the source puts it, to a frail, depressed, infection-prone shadow, and the cause, following what seemed like sensible medical advice.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The core issue is obviously the vitamin D deficiency, but it's tied into this bigger concept the sources mentioned, solar phobia.
Right. Solar phobia. It's this pervasive fear, both in medicine and just, culturally, that treats all sun exposure as equally bad, equally dangerous.
And this fear has led to widespread deficiency, especially in seniors.
The numbers are staggering, actually. Based on the data we looked at, vitamin D deficiency now hits over 80% of people over 65.
80%? That's not some fringe issue.
No, it's the norm. It's the default state for most older adults in developed nations. It's a massive problem hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, and it's not just about, feeling a bit low on energy. This deficiency triggers a serious downward spiral.
It really does. It goes way beyond just brittle bones, although that's definitely part of it.
So what are the consequences?
Well, yes, you get the increased rates of osteoporosis, which leads to more falls, more fractures, major issues for seniors.
Big causes of losing independence.
Exactly. But it's also directly linked to clinical depression, like Robert experienced, and accelerated cognitive decline, even dementia.
Dementia. Wow.
Yeah. Higher rates of autoimmune diseases, too. And here's the real kicker, the irony.
Yeah.
Increased risk for several types of internal cancers. The very thing people fear from the sun cancer might actually be partly caused by avoiding it and becoming D deficient.
That is deeply ironic. So without enough vitamin D, the body's kind of losing a master control.
That's a great way to put it. A master regulatory switch gets turned off.
Okay, so Robert's health collapses. But thankfully, that wasn't the end of his story. Hitting rock bottom was actually his turning point.
It was. He gets rushed to the ER during one of these severe infection episodes, and that's where the Australian insight comes in, as our sources call it.
Right, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a resident doctor.
Yes, and crucially, she'd trained in Australia. When she saw Robert, this man who looked frail and sick, but whose history didn't immediately explain it, combined with these rock-bottom vitamin D levels,
That clicked for her.
immediately. The source says she was, frankly, horrified. Horrified that the advice he'd followed so diligently had led to this state.
So what was different about her perspective coming from Australia?
It highlights a contrast in medical culture, really. Australia has a very high UV index, obviously, lots of sun, but their public health focus for a long time has been more nuanced. It's about avoiding sunburn, not avoiding the sun entirely.
A balanced approach.
A balanced approach.
Yeah.
She recognized Robert's condition instantly. She actually called it dying from sun avoidance.
Dying from sun avoidance. That's a strong phrase.
It is. She saw that his local doctors, his dermatologists, they'd missed the fundamental need for sunlight. The source quotes her being appalled that advising a senior to stay indoors year-round was considered acceptable practice. She saw it as prescribing system failure.
Okay, this really hammers home why we need to understand the mechanism. Let's get into the details of vitamin D.
Oh.
Why isn't it just a vitamin?
Right, because calling it a vitamin is almost misleading. It's much more than that.
Mhm.
When UV radiation, specifically UVB, hits your skin, it triggers the synthesis of vitamin D3. But that's just a start. D3 then travels to the liver, then the kidneys, where it's converted into its active form,
Calcitriol.
calcitriol, and that is the powerhouse.
The source description was striking. The most potent hormone in the human body. Is that hyperbole?
Honestly, probably not. Calcitriol functions like a steroid hormone. It has a huge regulatory role. It's estimated it influences the expression of over 3,000 different genes.
3,000 genes. How does it do that?
They binds to something called the vitamin D receptor, the VDR, and these receptors aren't just in bones. They're everywhere: brain cells, immune cells, gut lining, muscles.
So it's like a key fitting into locks all over the body, turning genes on or off.
Precisely. A master switch for genetic expression.
So what are the big jobs those genes are doing, especially in an older body?
You can think of it controlling 3 critical pillars for healthy aging. First, calcium balance. Calcitriol tells your gut how to absorb calcium efficiently, essential for bone density, obviously.
Okay, number 1.
Second, immune function. It's crucial for regulating immune cells, helping them mature, telling them what to attack, calming down overreactions when D levels plummet, like Robert's did.
The immune system gets sluggish.
Sluggish and confused. Less effective against infections, potentially more prone to autoimmune issues.
Right. Pillar 2. Immunity. What's the third?
Cellular health. Repair and division. Calcitriol influences genes involved in controlling inflammation and suppressing tumor growth.
Ah, so back to the cancer link.
Exactly. Without enough calcitriol, cellular damage can build up faster, inflammation can run unchecked, and the risk of cells turning cancerous potentially increases. It contributes to accelerated aging at a cellular level.
And the specific vulnerability for seniors comes down to the skin itself.
That's a huge factor. As we age, our skin just gets less efficient at making vitamin D3 from sunlight. A 70-year-old might only produce about a quarter of the D3 that a 20-year-old makes from the same sun exposure.
Only 25%. Wow.
Yeah, so you combine that natural decline in production efficiency with deliberate, extreme sun avoidance.
And you get a perfect storm.
A perfect storm for calcitriol starvation, which is exactly what Robert Martinez experienced.
Okay, that really lays out the vitamin D crisis clearly. But the sources argue strongly that this isn't just about vitamin D. Taking a D supplement isn't the whole answer.
Not even close. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Sunlight triggers a whole cascade of health benefits that you simply cannot get from a pill.
Benefits completely separate from vitamin D production.
Entirely separate mechanisms. We're talking major impacts on cardiovascular health, brain function, sleep, mood.
Okay, let's tackle cardiovascular first. Heart disease is still the #1 killer, so this is huge, especially for seniors. The sources mention a nitric oxide connection.
Yes, this is fascinating stuff. When sunlight, specifically the UVA part of the spectrum, hits your skin.
UVA, not just the UVB for vitamin D.
Correct. UVA triggers the release of nitric oxide, or NO. Your skin actually stores significant amounts of NO precursors, like nitrate and nitrite, right near the surface.
So the skin's holding on to this stuff, waiting for a signal.
Pretty much, waiting for the UVA signal. And when it hits, this nitric oxide gets released rapidly into the bloodstream.
And what does nitric oxide do in the blood?
It's a potent vasodilator. That means it tells the smooth muscles lining your blood vessels to relax.
Relax the blood vessels, so blood flows easier.
Instantly. Circulation improves, resistance drops, and blood pressure goes down significantly.
Wow, like an immediate effect. How does that compare to taking, say, a blood pressure pill?
Well, pills work systemically, often take time, and can have side effects. This solar-induced NO release is immediate. It happens right where the sun hits, but has systemic effects, and it's, well, free and natural.
The sources emphasize this isn't replicated by supplements or meds.
Not nearly as effectively, no. It's this elegant, built-in system for maintaining healthy blood pressure and vessel flexibility, directly reducing the risk of heart attack and stroke just by getting some regular, gentle sun.
Okay, that's huge for heart health.
Yeah.
Now, moving to the brain and our internal clocks, cognition, and sleep. This is about circadian rhythms, right? More than just light wakes you up.
Oh, much more. Natural light is the primary synchronizer for our mastal body clock. It's a cluster of neurons deep in the brain in the hypothalamus called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN.
The SCN.
And how does light talk to the SCN? Not just through the rods and cones we use for vision. Your eyes have these other specialized cells.
Intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, IPRGCs.
That's them. They specifically detect the intensity and color spectrum of ambient light, especially blue light, which is abundant in morning sunlight.
And they send that signal straight to the SCN, the master clock.
Directly. That light signal is the most powerful cue telling your body it's daytime, time to be active. It sets the entire 24-hour cycle.
And that cycle controls pretty much everything.
Hormone release, definitely. Think cortisol. The alertness hormone needs to peak in the morning. And melatonin, the sleep and repair hormone, needs to rise in the evening when light fades. This timing is crucial.
So for seniors like Robert, living mostly indoors, especially in dim light,
They miss that strong morning light signal. The SCN doesn't get the clear on switch. The whole system starts to drift, become desynchronized.
and the consequences of that drifting clock.
The sources link this circadian misalignment directly to things like accelerated biological aging, poorer cognitive function, higher risk of metabolic issues like type 2 diabetes, and even disturbingly higher overall mortality rates.
So keeping that clock timed correctly with natural light is fundamental for health span.
Absolutely fundamental. Spending all day indoors under weak artificial light basically tells your body it's perpetually twilight. You never fully switch into active daytime mode or deep nighttime repair mode. Leads to chronic fatigue, poor sleep, cellular damage accumulation.
Okay, heart, brain, sleep.
Yeah.
What about mood and mental well-being? The sunshine makes you happy idea.
There's real science behind that. It's often the first thing people notice when they start getting regular sun.
How does it work?
Sunlight exposure directly boosts the production and release of serotonin in the brain.
Serotonin, the happy chemical.
Right, the neurotransmitter strongly linked to feelings of well-being, calm, and focus. Low serotonin is a hallmark of depression.
And it also affects cortisol.
Yes, conversely, sunlight helps regulate and lower chronically high levels of cortisol, the main stress hormone.
And we know high cortisol drives chronic inflammation, which is linked to almost every age-related disease.
Exactly. So sunlight acts like a natural two-for-one deal here. It lifts mood by boosting serotonin, and it potentially dampens harmful systemic inflammation by lowering cortisol.
This explains Robert Martinez's rapid turnaround psychologically.
It does. Let's revisit his recovery because it's such a clear example.
Okay, Dr. Mitchell gets him on this new protocol, moderate daily sun. What happened?
Within just 2 weeks, the sources say his clinical depression showed significant improvement. He reported feeling more energetic, more engaged with life.
2 weeks is fast.
Incredibly fast. And within a month, his sleep quality, which had been terrible because his circadian rhythm was shot, improved dramatically, sleeping soundly through the night.
Which allows the body that crucial repair time.
Exactly. And then the objective measures started catching up, blood pressure normalizing, markers for bone density beginning to improve, all from getting that natural light signal his body was starving for.
It sounds almost too good to be true, which brings us to the big hurdle, the fear. Decades of messaging telling us sun is the enemy.
Right. This is the elephant in the room. How do we square these benefits with the very real risk of skin cancer? We have to tackle this sun safety paradox head on.
How did Dr. Mitchell explain this to Robert? How do the sources justify contradicting decades of dermatological advice?
The core argument is that the public health message became oversimplified, even fear-mongering. The research linking sun to skin cancer often didn't properly differentiate between different patterns of exposure,
Meaning,
it lumped together chronic, severe sunburning, that acute damage from intense intermittent exposure on unprepared skin, with regular, moderate sun exposure that allows the skin to adapt.
so it's not the sun itself, but how we interact with it. Sunburn is the villain, not sensible sun exposure.
That's the key distinction the sources make. The focus should be laser sharp on preventing sunburn, which is clearly linked to increased skin cancer risk, especially melanoma.
But the paradox is,
The paradox, highlighted in several studies cited, is that people who get consistent, moderate sun exposure building a gradual tan actually have lower rates of melanoma than people who avoid the sun religiously all year and then get blasted on a 2-week beach holiday.
so avoiding the sun leaves your skin vulnerable when exposure inevitably happens.
Precisely. It prevents the skin from building its own natural protection.
And adding to the irony, we talked about vitamin D itself having anti-cancer properties.
The ultimate irony. By driving seniors into deficiency through avoidance, we might be robbing them of one of the body's own powerful cancer fighters.
How so?
Modern research consistently shows that people with higher blood levels of vitamin D have significantly lower rates of several major internal cancers: colorectal, breast, prostate. Calcitriol acts as a tumor suppressor.
It helps regulate cell growth and encourages damaged cells to self-destruct.
Exactly, a process called apoptosis. So adequate D levels provide a layer of systemic cancer protection that sun avoidance actively undermines.
Okay, so if high SPF isn't the answer for safe D production, how do we achieve safety? It's about building tolerance and melanin.
Yes, the body has its own system. Safety comes not from blocking UV entirely, but from gently stimulating the skin's natural defense, melanin.
Melanin, the pigment that gives us a tan. That's our built-in sunscreen.
It is. Regular moderate exposure signals the skin cells, the melanocytes, to produce more melanin. This pigment absorbs UV radiation, protecting the deeper layers in DNA from damage.
But it still lets enough UV through for vitamin D synthesis.
That's the beauty of it. It's a protective filter, not a total block. It shields against the harmful effects while allowing the beneficial ones. The goal is to build this natural shield gradually, maximizing D production without ever triggering the inflammation and DNA damage of a sunburn.
And Robert learned to use his own skin as a guide, not just the clock.
This was a crucial part of Dr. Mitchell's guidance. She taught him about the minimal erythemal dose, or MED, basically learning to recognize the very first sign of pinkness in his skin.
Like a faint blush.
Exactly. That very light pink indicates you've received enough UV to maximize vitamin D synthesis for that session. Pushing past that point gives you very little extra D, but rapidly increases the risk of burning.
So listen to your body's feedback.
It's a much more personalized and reliable approach than just saying 15 minutes for everyone.
Okay, let's pull this together into the actionable protocol. What was the specific advice Dr. Mitchell gave Robert, the plan that worked so well?
It's beautifully simple, really. Focused on consistency and moderation. The target duration is roughly 15 to 20 minutes of direct sunlight each day.
Direct meaning?
Minimal clothing on the area exposed: face, arms, maybe legs, not through glass, which blocks UVB.
And the timing is key to avoid the harsh midday sun.
Absolutely critical. The protocol specifically recommends avoiding the peak intensity hours, usually 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., sometimes even 4 p.m. in summer.
So when should you aim for?
Early morning, say between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m., or late afternoon after 4 p.m. During these times, the UV index is lower, the light angle is shallower, you still get beneficial UVA for nitric oxide and enough UVB for D, but the risk of burning is much lower.
Makes sense. And the duration needs adjusting based on skin type, right?
Hugely important. This isn't one size fits all. Someone with very fair skin, type I or 2, needs to start very slow, maybe only 5 or 10 minutes, and build up tolerance carefully.
Whereas someone with darker skin,
type V or size, naturally has more melanin, which acts as a filter, so they need longer exposure to get the same amount of vitamin D synthesis, maybe 20, 30 minutes, or even a bit more, depending on location and time of year.
but the universal rule is never, ever burn.
Never burn. That's the absolute red line. Gradual adaptation is the goal.
Okay, moving into our final section, this is where the sources get, well, as you said, a bit infuriating. Looking at the inefficiency of current medical practices, especially the focus on supplements.
Yeah, it's the stark contrast, isn't it? This free, natural, multi-benefit process versus a massive supplement industry selling just one isolated part of the equation.
The sources really push back against the just take a pill,
Mm-hmm.
approach the supplement myth. What's the main argument?
Several points. First, absorption can be poor. Synthetic vitamin D3 pills aren't always well absorbed, especially in older guts.
And the D made in the skin is different.
The sources argue it's far more bioavailable. It's naturally sulfated during production in the skin, which might make it easier for the body to transport and use. Plus, the body stores it better and releases it more steadily than a sudden oral dose.
But the bigger inefficiency, the more frustrating part, is everything the pill misses.
That's the core of it. The pill gives you D, okay, but it gives you 0 nitric oxide boost for your blood pressure.
Right. No cardiovascular benefit.
It gives you 0 circadian rhythm entrainment via those eye photoreceptors, so it doesn't help reset your body clock, improve sleep, or fight cognitive decline linked to indoor living.
Doesn't touch the serotonin-cortisol balance for mood either.
Nope. None of that. So we're spending billions on pills that deliver only a fraction of the benefits that sensible sun exposure provides naturally and for free. We're treating symptoms with separate drugs, statins, antidepressants, sleep aids, when the root cause might be environmental deprivation.
Deprivation of sunlight. It's like we mistook an environmental need for a simple nutrient deficiency.
Perfectly put. And the proof is in the pudding, looking at the transformative community results that followed Robert's recovery.
Right. He didn't keep this discovery to himself. He started sharing it.
He became quite the advocate in his retirement community. He was so amazed by his own turnaround, backed up by his blood tests, that he convinced others to try Dr. Mitchell's simple protocol.
Tell us about Martha, 81 years old, housebound.
Yeah, Martha's story is powerful. 81, severe osteoporosis, crippling depression, basically hadn't left her house much for 2 years, terrified of falling. Her vitamin D levels were abysmal.
So she starts the protocol. Just 15 minutes on her balcony.
That's it. Early morning sun. Within 6 weeks, the change was remarkable. Her energy came back. She ditched her walker, started gardening again.
Wow. And her bones.
Her doctor tracked her bone density scans closely. They showed stabilization, even a slight improvement, which, as you know, is incredibly rare in advanced osteoporosis at that age. Usually, the goal is just slowing the decline.
Amazing. And Frank, recovering from chemo.
Frank, 79. Chemotherapy had just wrecked his immune system. Constant infections, dangerously low white blood cell counts. He felt terrible.
How did sun help him?
Well, we know calcitriol is vital for immune cell production and function. He started the daily sun exposure routine, and his blood work showed a clear, measurable recovery in his white blood cell count.
Giving his body back its defenses.
Exactly. He started fighting off infections effectively. His quality of life improved dramatically.
And these weren't just subjective feelings of feeling better. The sources stress these were universal findings backed by tests.
That's the crucial part. Doctors who were initially skeptical had to pay attention when they saw the objective data. Bone density scans improving or stabilizing, blood pressure readings normalizing that nitric oxide effect, sleep quality objectively better. And the blood work consistently showed rising calcitriol levels and often reduced markers of inflammation.
Undeniable results across the board.
Consistent, undeniable improvements verified by standard medical tests. It wasn't placebo. It was physiology responding to a missing input.
So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway from this deep dive? We've covered the biochemistry, the systemic effects, the real-world results.
I think it boils down to a fundamental truth we've kind of forgotten or maybe engineered ourselves away from. Our bodies evolved over millennia in sunlight. The skin isn't just a covering, it's an active solar organ.
A sophisticated solar panel, as one source called it.
Yeah, manufacturing this incredibly potent hormone, calcitriol, and triggering all these other vital responses like NO release to deliberately deprive seniors of that interaction.
Based on an incomplete understanding of risk.
Right. It leads to so much unnecessary suffering, frailty, and decline. Especially when, as the sources point out, there are thousands of studies supporting the safety and effectiveness of managed moderate exposure. We've confused sensible use with dangerous misuse.
So we've seen the harm of solar phobia, the science behind sunlight's broad benefits, and a clear, safe way to get those benefits.
The key finding really is this. Regular, sensible sun exposure isn't just okay. For many seniors, it might be the single most important, effective, and accessible medicine they're currently missing out on.
Often because of fears about melanoma, a risk that moderate exposure actually seems to reduce by building natural protection.
Exactly.
So for you listening, the immediate step is surprisingly simple.
It really is. Don't overthink it. Start small. Today or tomorrow morning. Just step outside when the sun is gentle, early morning, late afternoon.
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
5 or 10 minutes is perfect to start. Feel the warmth on your skin. No pressure, no complex rules yet. Just begin that gentle, consistent interaction. Realize you're giving your body signals it's designed to receive, kicking off repair and regulation.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with, something provocative from these sources.
I think the most powerful message is, don't automatically accept decline as inevitable with age. The stories of Robert, Martha, Frank, they show the incredible resilience of the human body.
Its capacity to heal and thrive.
At any age, 76, 81, 96, if it's given what it fundamentally needs. And one of those fundamental needs, which we've neglected for too long, appears to be regular, sensible interaction with natural sunlight.